but it's extremely important to have your community, and your community is built of allies of every type. Okay, and this is in harmony, peace and harmony, and in prosperity, so that you can be successful in your life.
How people, okay, I know that you did talk about education, because if you come as a student, before you already are entry to the community, but say maybe, for example, you come with a visa for work, how do you enter into a community? Because now, as a traditional society where people have a lot of value for traditional setting, you need to know somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody who knows somebody. Then the things will be easy for you, though. If you don't, then it's going to be hard for you.
Italy has a great quality of life, but integration into society has so many barriers that I almost recommend avoiding it. Not entirely, and it is important to integrate, and it is important to be beneficial to the society, and you can do that in a million ways. Absolutely. But it's almost more important to be as economically independent as you can, and then work into being economically integrated because of the barriers. So my name is Sara Sky Schutte, and I work in different areas of business development, commercial representation. I help small business owners in expanding their business, looking for opportunity. I do a lot of consultancy and consultation, and I work in startup activities. Generally, I try to represent the underrepresented, because even that's a point, of course, that I identify with personally, but I also always see the need for more development and representation in underrepresented areas. So I do try to focus on that. And it's an area that, of course, in every market, there's a lot to be done. But I would say, especially in the Italian market, there's a big area of improvement and opportunity for business development, and specifically, working with companies for exportation, working with small businesses to find new clients, to find different ways to present their products and services, but also how to develop their own products and services to respond better to the market. So both the national market, international market, etc. So that's mostly what I do.
All right, that's interesting. Actually, this is the second part of our interview, because we did the first time a couple of days ago, which is already live. Of course, people, they can see it there and watch. It was really a very interesting conversation. And of course, we were not able to cover all we wanted to talk about there, because also we didn't want to spend much time here. Okay, we know you needed to take care of other things within your area of business. So we said, okay, let's talk about it again. So today we are going to be concentrating on your activism, because we know that now you are coming from the United States, but you live in Italy. You'll be living here for a long time. The first question would be, how did you get started in activism? Help us understand that.
Yes. Okay. So this is now, again, coming into the Italian market. For example, my background was in the US. I did study in Europe as well. So I studied in the Czech Republic and in Italy, and and then in the US. But I did use education as a way to get established in the European market. There's a lot of opportunity with universities, with institutes, with the academies. Education is a good entry point into any market, especially for young people. Now, again, this is speaking in establishing yourself within a market. Now, I believe in education at any age. I really do. I think education is a permanent state of mind, and one of my taglines is actually never stop learning, because of the fact that, again, it's very important to continue educating yourself, learning. And so that's always a way to gain entry as a person. Okay. Now, as in your business dealings, any longer today, it is about connections. It's human connection helps a lot. but it's also about establishing your brand identity, your positioning, your visibility. So making whatever you're doing accessible to other markets, to other places, to other clients that aren't in your physical vicinity. And any longer, there are a lot of tools and resources. There's really everything you can think of, and they're mostly free. Even registering a domain can cost as little as €1, or $1. Building a website can be free. There are lots of free resources, such as even WordPress, or a couple other ones are Wix. I use personally, I like that one quite a bit, Wix. And then, yes, WordPress is very established. So these are ways of building your own tools by yourself to be able to expand the market. Now, this, again, is a way to begin. I don't recommend this once you get established in your business. I recommend working with a with a good agency that you trust, that can handle a lot of areas of communications, that also can help you get established in a particular geographical area. So if you want to be selling your services in Germany, I recommend finding a German agency, or finding an agency that is specialized in the German market. Working with agencies, etc., is a way to expand your business more quickly. So to get started, I would recommend that, to do something for yourself so you can just get some presence. But then in terms of actually managing it, expanding it, or if you are able to have the resources to work with an agency, that is best case scenario. Now, in what you're doing, and I could continue talking and talking. So if you have anything
No,
to
no,
say,
no, go on, go on. Anyway, I would like you
yeah,
to sort of at this point clarify
yeah.
for us, what is your scope, what is your area. Let's look at you when you came to Italy
Mhm.
several years ago,
Mhm.
and you are starting to have your footing on the ground. Of course, if you are in Italy now, I mean,
Mhm.
you understand the Italian culture, because
Yeah.
people are basically governed by their culture, their way of life, their
Yes.
understanding in life. So
Yes.
if you were to go out just now, you go to have maybe cappuccino. Of course, you can have cappuccino anywhere, no? But of course, that is the way that it is usually approached here in Italy. You know,
Right.
the Italian colloquium. Because if you don't put all this into your conversation, it's not going to resonate with the local people. And if it doesn't
Right.
resonate with the local people, you are not going to have the local business. It's
Right.
very
Right.
simple. So tell
Right.
me, say maybe if you could reverse the hand of time, you are just entering
Yes.
Italy today. What
Right.
would you focus on?
Okay. All right. So now, first of all, building your community. Now, that is one thing that Italy is, it's very protectionist around its own community, its own culture. It doesn't, it's very closed to outward influences. It doesn't want to change. It has 2,000 years of history, and it's dragging behind its back towards the future. The future is barely even mentioned or noticed, let alone, there's no focus on the future. It's all about, tradition and history, and all this past ways of doing things, and everything's defined very precisely. You have, this is what you do in August, this is what you do in December, this is what you do at 7:30 p.m. This, it's very, there's a lot of, it's very homogenous as a culture. Everybody does the same thing. Everybody goes to that place or that place, for summer. So there's not a lot of space or appreciation for other ways of doing things, for other ways of being, for other ways of thinking, other ways of applying. So it's very closed, very closed, and so everyone adheres to this definition because there's no space otherwise. So I highly recommend building your community. You have to have your community, and communities can, again, having national, multi-ethical, religious, multi everything communities are very important. It's something that makes, for example, places like the United States were built on this. Now there's lots of definitions of, and there was lots of hardships and difficulties in integrating different cultures, but it's extremely important to have your community, and your community is built of allies of every type. Okay. And this is in harmony, peace and harmony, and in prosperity, so that you can be successful in your life. Okay. So, there's no, and again, building your community, the people that you can trust, the people that understand you. Okay. Again, this is just reinforcing what is your strong point. Okay. It's reinforcing your allies, your assistants, your everything around you. So it is important to have that. And again, your community can be built, based on, the person who runs the grocery store next to you, or the local business owner, or, your agency, for example. If you're working with agencies, is always helpful. Representation of what you're doing, of what you need to be done, that's local, that's established. These sorts of activities are very, very helpful and very beneficial. So, and that being said, making sure that you look for where you can have a community, okay, where you can have support. And sometimes it comes from places you would not expect. It's not always where you think, it would be. So sometimes it has to do with your own personal experience, or, your way of applying yourself, or what's important to you. You can find a community in sports. You could find, if you like, I don't know, swimming, you find a swimming community. If you like, the arts, you find an arts community. So it can be in your interests, it can be in your language, it can be in your where your provenance, or where you're coming from. It can be in where you want to go. Okay, you want to work in I don't know, if let's say in business or business development, or in commerce, importation, exportation. Find your community. So that can be done social media. That can be done, and it's a matter of making contacts, and making solid contacts, people that you can trust, that can trust you. And at that point, you can do business with those people. Okay, real business. You can actually have ways of finding opportunities for them. They find opportunities for you. Okay, so it's that relevance that gives you a very strong starting point. And as Italy doesn't have a lot of space for independent entrepreneurs, there is space, but you really have to create your space. So create your space, find your community, find your points of entry. Education is a good way, because with education, even on a, for example, if you enroll into a university, universities are free, that you do pay taxes. Okay. If you can enroll into a university, and it's not easy, there are a million difficulties in just in enrolling in a university, but now there are online universities, etc. If you enroll in a university, you can get your permits to stay here in Italy. Okay. You can get your residency. You can have a job 20 hours a week. Okay. So these are ways of being able to become established, because one thing that's important too in life and business and everything is establishing yourself, right? And it has, again, it's a game. You have to play the game. Is it very difficult to fill out all those forms to be able to apply for university, which they're in Italian? It's very difficult. Today, it takes a second to scan that photo, translate it into the language, whatever language you want, and be able to do it. Okay, so we have the tools today to be able to surpass. It's like gatekeeping. I don't know if you've heard the expression of gatekeeping, but Italy has a million, everybody's a gatekeeper, everybody. Okay. So,
yeah, thank you so much for that. Thanks for helping people understand sometimes the complexity of a society. Right. Of course, we are looking at the typical European society, maybe we could call it like that, because I've seen a lot of people that are not necessarily Italian, but that are coming from other part of Europe, whether you're looking at the Netherlands, or maybe people coming from apart from the United Kingdom, for example, that might have a little bit more opening, maybe because it's highly influenced by the United States. Okay, it's a country that colonized the United States, but it's highly influenced by the culture coming from the United States. That also is true, because there is this delicate power balance that is going on there. It's more influence compared to maybe Italy or France or the Netherlands or even Germany. Okay, Germany is also a little bit more getting more influence. As we are looking at the new world, as you might want to call it, as we move into the future where there is a globalized society, it becomes a little bit difficult for people who have those kind of mindset, because now you are going to learn how to dance, play the game. Let me put it like that, because you like to use that word, play the game. So we need to play this kind of game where you are interacting with other people that are not necessarily like you. They don't practice your religion. They don't believe in your culture, for example. But you have to deal with them, because we now have a common playground. It used to be called opportunity recently that the internet make the world look like a global village. That is no longer make like. It's not really a global village. Meaning that whenever you are in the world, whether you are in China or you are in Canada or in the US, you are in Nigeria or you are in South Africa, the world has become a global village. And if we play the game of tradition, we're not going to be able to play in this game, because it's a global village. So it's good that we sort of have a more open mind towards other people that are different from you, so that you can play. So the question I really would like to ask you is, how was it easy for you to sort of penetrate the system that is maybe this different from where you are coming from, so that other people can learn? I know you already sort of highlight what they need to do, but we want to learn from your personal experiences. What did you do to be able to enter into the society?
Right. So the same thing, I did come for education, first of all. So I already had received a undergraduate degree. I came in a very organic way. Now one thing that can work, of course, it's kind of a leapfrog sort of a method would be, or a shortcut would be to find, a company to start off working for a company. Now, if you're working independently, then I do recommend, establishing, for example, you can establish the business and from inside the country, from the European continent, or from outside the European continent, because of course, Europe is divided into European citizens and non-European citizens, right? And that's the way Italy works as well. So if you're within Italy, it's very easy. I'm sorry, if you're within Europe, it's very easy to get established in Italy because you can live and work and do anything you want in any European country. So one other way is to look into so there's the personal ways and business ways that we can speak about. Do you want to speak about more as a person or more as a business in terms of how to enter into Italy? Because those are two very different areas. So if we're speaking about on a personal side, as I mentioned, either there's basically, there are 3 types of visas, for example, because you need a visa to come. We can just speak this is very, So your types of visas are your family visa. So if you were able to find family heritage, or if you have somebody in your immediate or past history that is European, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, any European country, and you can establish that lineage, you can get even citizenship. Okay, for Europe. Again, bureaucracy is difficult, and that's the game of Italy, is bureaucracy. And it's a never-ending game. It really is. So in that case, a lot of paperwork. You can find applications for anything you need, but it's a lot of paperwork. That's one thing that takes a lot of work. So, getting used to finding forms, filling them out, and jumping through the hoops, because that's the thing about Italy. It's a lot of jumping through hoops, and it is a game. It's a bit.
All right. Anyway, maybe I'm not going to criticize Italy, although I've been here for a long time too. So of course I can make my own criticism, because sometimes I do see some of this law that really are not sort of making things easier for people to do more. So okay, let me explain what I mean. When the system is so tough that the people cannot pass through the system, they bypass the system.
Right.
Because the human being, the human being want freedom to be able to function.
Absolutely. And this is completely understandable.
Yeah,
completely understandable. Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm listening to you. It's good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I agree because exactly. And, being able to there is the right to movement and freedom of movement. And, if you look at the definition of human rights, even the right to freedom and happiness, okay, or the right to expand on, your personal situation, or what, these are human rights. So being able to have those human rights applied to immigration and emigration, it's going to take a minute, but that is an application of human rights that is necessary. So, because even different forms of oppression do exist, and people who are moving around, sometimes it's for education, it can be for curiosity, it can be for whatever reason you want, but those are human rights and human freedoms. Those are. So when a system is making it so difficult for that to happen, it is a form of human rights to be able to bypass that. It is an application of your human right to do that. Now, in terms of course, there are even, I do work a lot in, especially in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of work in areas of legal areas and areas of the application of law, and in terms of where it's applied correctly and where it's absolutely applied absolutely incorrectly, where there are, there's protectionism, there's, all sorts of, it's forms of intolerance, basically, or forms of, I don't know, not allowing equal rights, full stop. Okay. So, and, again, one of the biggest barriers in Italy is this form of gatekeeping, which is a bureaucratic, it's like paper pushing, basically, or pencil pushing is what it's called, where you really have to do a lot of formal, you have to almost research through Italian bureaucracy, so Italian state information. So, the state of Italy, if you research through the procedures and you follow those procedures, you can do it. You can do anything you want. But again, of course, the barriers are extremely high, and they're put into place to make it more difficult, right? But the legal path, the path into being able to establish yourself, there are lots of different paths. I think, the art of research is one of the most useful forms of art that there is. And I'm saying a form of art because, being able to identify what identify what your goals are, identify what you need, identify your the course that you have to take to get there is not easy. It's quite difficult. So being able to do that is an art form, and I highly recommend that. I highly recommend, sometimes it has to do even with linguistic ability. Simply, and there's resources now. There's a million resources to be sure that you're linguistically using, you're understanding what you need to look for, or, that you're establishing you could say the correct paths that you need to take in order to get the documentation, the paperwork, so, and, that's one of the biggest barriers in Italy, I have to say, is the legal system. It is a mess. And this is well known. It's a mess. Absolutely. And this is, yeah.
Have you had maybe, of course, all right, let me explain to you briefly, so at least you understand the background where we're coming from.
Yes.
I came to Italy in the August of 2004. At a point, I started to find out what is the story of Africans in northern Italy, which is where I live. So in the Veneto region, talking of Verona, Vicenza, and Padova. This is where I actually carried out my research, from where I published 2 books and a documentary, which was screened here.
I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
read. I saw something about it, but I need to. I'd like to watch it and read them.
All right. Yeah, yeah, sure. They are
Yeah,
valuable. So
that's great.
ideally I'll be trying to collect data about these people or our people in this
Yes,
part of the world. So I'll be tickling with the argument for a very long time. And I think I will continue to do that because I think it is important to talk about these experiences. You see,
yes, yes,
that
yes.
people come here, you need to learn, you need to live. And living in Italy and living in where you are coming from is completely different. But you need to be able to live here to be able to both contribute to where you are coming from and also contribute to where you are living. It is almost
Right,
obligatory for you to do this as a human being. You need to contribute to the Italian society. But the way you can contribute to the Italian society is if you understand what you are supposed to do. And like I say,
right,
it's not really that easy to understand the complexity of this society. So
right.
even though I'll be here for a very long time, sometimes I still find a lot of trap that I'm not able to move my legs very well. But it's okay. I'm fine.
Right,
So,
right, right.
so
Yeah, right.
within the business
Mhm.
setting, which is actually where we are concentrating on just now, have you
Yes,
met some people who maybe have come from other parts of the world? Because we are talking about human right. The human right, the freedom to movement is actually one of the basic human right. In that, whether you are from an advanced economy like that of US or in
yeah,
Canada,
yeah.
you can also be free to live in a country in Africa or in Asia. It's your right, no, because you are a human being. You should be free to say, "Oh, I want to live among these people." You see,
Right,
it's the right thing to do. But sometimes
right,
it's not always very easy. You see. All right, now
right.
looking at it from the point of view of business again, have you
Hmm.
seen
Hmm.
some people who are immigrants who have become citizens or maybe who are living here legally and they want to do
Yes.
business and they have complained to you? What did they complain to you of living in Italy and doing business? What are their challenges?
Yes. So, that's the thing. With such a high entry level into Italy, such high barriers and such a high entry level, just in terms of the bureaucracy in order to get here. So you either have to get an immigration lawyer and have the resources to pay that, which it's feasible, but again, it depends on everybody comes from different economic situations. You can do it yourself. You can do it yourself, and that's what most people do. If you are able to get through the bureaucracy by yourself, then that means that you are very highly educated. Even if your education came through your desire to make that move, right? So it's one of the education is very important. But one thing that's interesting, once you do get here, um, you know, Italy, like a lot of different countries, there are different areas of application of the economy. For example, here is based on lots of different factors. There is a lot of local production of food production. There's a lot of artisan activities which is just handmade work, etc. So Italy still has a lot of tradition in its economy and how it's structured. A lot of small businesses of one person to 10 people. That's the majority of the businesses in Italy. So a lot of them there's also a lot of small medium enterprises, but even the small medium, they might have 50 people, or 30, but there's a lot of small structures. It's not like in the US where it's like mega galactic, where there are other structures, but there's also other definitions of quality of life, of work-life balance, of freedoms. So I do define freedoms as the ability to have a vacation two or three times 2 times a year, but that's not always possible either. That's again, lovely. That's an Italian standard though, which is interesting. So the Italian standard of life is very high, but that's why there's a lot of protectionism. So, and then again, being able to adhere to that, you do have to have community, because Italian life is based on that as well, like family communities mostly in Italy. So, and okay, so the last thing that we were speaking about was in terms of expectations. This is one thing that's very interesting too, and I do have to comment on this. I remember when my sister and brother-in-law live in Germany. My brother-in-law is German. My sister, she's actually my twin sister, has lived in Germany she came 1 year, almost 2 years before I did. So she's been established in Germany for going on 26, 27 years now. It's a long time. So any case, and that being said, when my brother-in-law, who's a university professor in Germany, and my sister, when they come to visit, it's funny because my brother-in-law, who he has done a lot of work in also biodiversity and ecology and sustainability, et cetera, and conservation. He's a scientist, and he says that whenever they come to Italy, they don't speak a lot of Italian. They don't speak a lot of Italian, but bless you. But they say whenever they need to, if they're in a city center, etc., and they need to communicate, they go immediately to whoever looks non-Italian. And it's always highest level of culture, amazing language abilities. Okay, people who are clearly not from Italy, for example, often they are. Just the fact that they're here is amazing, some of it because of, and that's not always, I mean that, but in being able to apply those skills is not easy. It's possible, but the entry barriers are very high. So again, that being said, that thing about building community is, again, very important. So that's all I have to say about that for the moment.
How people, okay, I know that you did talk about education, because if you come as a student, of course, you already are entry to the community, but say maybe, for example, you come with a visa for work. How do you enter into a community? Because now, as a traditional society where people have a lot of value for traditional setting, you need to know somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody who knows somebody. Then the thing will be easy for you, If you don't, then it's going to be hard for you. So your suggestion, or what you're saying, which I see there's a lot of value there, is for you to be in a community or in a network of people, so that when you need to do something, they will be able to help you because they know somebody who knows another person that can do something for you. Yeah.
No, so this can help. And, really with community, it's more about just support and information, not necessarily favors, not necessarily, and if that happens, that's great, because that is how Italian society works primarily. It does work a lot on that, on references and this sort of thing. But I did come completely independently. I came by myself. I did everything by myself. So, and this was just in gumption and in, how do you say, perseverance. Okay. So you can also do that. And that works just as well. And that's what I did. And it wasn't easy. And it was difficult. But what I relied on is my international communities. Okay. I did a lot rely on my international communities, because there's the perspective of, even if you're established or even if you were born in Italy, but you have an idea of what it's like to not just be an Italian growing up in Italy. You have more understanding of other perspectives and other cultures. And again, there's a big community of Italians that have all born and bred and always lived in Italy only. And there's a limited perspective there, right? So one thing that's important, though, is to be very certain about, again, your value, and to approach everything with your value is the most important thing that you're presenting, okay? Because there are a lot of, again, high barriers in Italy, even culturally, in terms of the way people speak to each other and treat each other, just on a personal level. There are a lot of barriers, okay? And one of the areas that I also, I believe a lot in and concentrated a lot in my life was ethics. I think ethics are very important, and it's very simple what a good ethic is. Good ethic is, no matter what your motivation is, you're either, if you're harming someone in any way, that is wrong, incorrect, and bad. Okay. Instead, if you're benefiting or being beneficial to people, okay, no matter, and we're not speaking about motivation, you're either hurting or harming or benefiting. Okay. And that's black or white, good or bad, whatever. Okay. This is in terms of being able to define, because this is one thing that Italians don't understand sometimes. Okay. I shouldn't say that. Because I shouldn't say that, but I come from more of an ethic, not more of an ethic, but I come from a background that was very, very focused on ethics, where it's either black or white, it's good or bad, it's, wrong or right, etc. So, and there's the gray areas are less defined in terms of applying ethics. Okay. So, and I think this can happen anywhere, in any culture, in any society. But I think if you start off on that foot, it's a bit easier to, it's a bit easier to at least have your motivation clear and solid. In terms of way things are managed and handled, it can be offensive in terms of having to deal with gray areas of where, the motivation is more important than what you're actually applying in your interaction with others.
All right. I've got a question for you, Sarah.
Yes.
As entrepreneur, as a business person, you are always finding a solution to a problem. If we can manage to find a problem, that is a good thing now, because meaning you are going to cash in on that problem. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say people that are coming to Italy to do business, or those that are already in Italy to do business, I think there should be more than 5 million immigrants in Italy as we talk. Of course, that number should be growing. Some of these people want to be free from the setup of working for 40 years and then going on retirement. They want to go into business. And because they are not traditionally Italians, they perfectly fit into what we are describing today, that there are these challenges for them. But what kind of businesses could actually be built around these challenges? Because like I said, if there is a problem, that is a good thing. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have something to solve. If there is no problem, then you don't have anything to do. So what kind of business opportunity can be built around the challenges facing non-Italian in Italy who want to do business in Italy?
All right. Okay, absolutely. Italy has massive opportunity in digital services. Okay. The digitalization of Italy. So use of internet, use of the computer simply, there is big opportunity there. Okay. And that's one thing that is easy to get established anywhere. It takes a lot of usage of it's one of those things where being focused on digital can be helpful. Setting up apps that solve problems for the local community, having it represented locally. Okay. So this is one thing that is quite useful. Anything regarding, again, that anything regarding digital, if depending on expertise and experience, etc., there's a lot of opportunity there. So, and that's something that, anything in terms of consultancy or, setting up, for example, areas of activity that have to do with, this is actually something also that I recommend. What's really one thing that's great in Italy, to be completely honest, is to have activity that is independent from Italy and to enjoy living here. And there is an area now of even obtaining visas called a digital nomad visa. Okay. I'm sure. Are you familiar with what a digital nomad is?
Yeah. But I think our audience would benefit if you could expand on that more.
Yes. Okay. So that is one thing Italy has a great quality of life, but integration into society has so many barriers that I almost recommend avoiding it. Not entirely, and it is important to integrate, and it is important to be beneficial to the society, and you can do that in a million ways. Absolutely. But it's almost more important to be as economically independent as you can, and then work into being economically integrated because of the barriers. So in the digital nomad visa, which is a work visa, if you can get employment on a remote basis, so working from anywhere, this is another way to do it, looking for remote opportunities, which now after COVID especially there's a big market opportunity. It's a huge area of a huge work area, so employment area, remote jobs, work from home jobs, or they're also called, I think it's just mostly work from home jobs or remote. And again, most of these, sometimes they are looking for specific language skills, digital skills, so programs, being able to use CMSs or CRMs or project manager. There's a lot of areas that you can develop, even if it's just simple research, online research, or data entry jobs, or customer service jobs, where you get a call through your computer or phone, and you answer questions that you trained on. So it could be IT about, or a product, so you can be trained, you can get trained by a company and have these sorts of jobs where you can work anywhere. And then you apply through the Italian Questura, you apply for your digital nomad permit or visa, permesso di soggiorno. So you can also, again, this whole process is complex. It has improved slightly over the last, 20 years. But again, it's still, it's kind of one of those things where it takes a lot of patience, and there's a lot of resistance. Okay, that's one thing. There's a lot of resistance in Italy in terms of opening up to any sort of outside influence, or people, or businesses, or there is resistance. And that's just something to accept, or expect. In terms of how you then approach it, that has to be done in a way where a lot of patience for sure, a lot of tolerance.
All right. Sarah, this is a very important conversation for me and for our community. We're talking of the immigrant community in Italy.
Yes.
They are looking for ways to also do business, even though they are here. A lot of them have some of these challenges because the Italian law is very stringent sometimes, very tough. Of course, is because that law is tough, that Italy is what it is. Many people come here because they enjoy Italy. It's also because of the law, because if the law were not there, it would be wiped out by other big multinationals, no?
Sure.
It is good that those laws are there. Of course, that is how the thing is set up. But
right, exactly.
It also should make it possible for people to work. All right.
Right.
Now, talking of this digital nomad, of course, I see now that you are making reference to people who want to come to Italy, no?
Right.
But what about the people who are already in Italy? They already have residence, they have paper, they are legally here, and they want to do business. For example, in Italy, if you have a partita IVA, which is the tax code for you to be able to pay tax if you have a registered business, that is not even a problem at all, because this is something I have been dealing with personally for a very number of years, because I've always liked to have my own business, you see.
Right.
But the clause that when you have a business, even though you are working here, you have a business, you still have money you need to pay to IMSS, which is, I think, something like around 2,000 euro a year, something like that.
Right.
This is irrespective of how much your business make. This is where I find it to be really challenging. For somebody who already established a business, you are earning a good income, that is perfectly fine. What is 2,500 euro, 1,200, whatever it is that the IMSS will charge you. But what if you are just starting? Maybe you don't earn any money yet, or maybe you are earning very little. Maybe in a year you are earning 1,000 euro, or you are earning 2,000 euro because you are just starting.
Right.
You have no way of going around that. And this is despite the fact that you are working in Italy, you are already paying tax. The law still say you need to pay this because you register the company, you have a partita IVA, you need to pay this. So I was saying, the law have said, okay, you have a registration, you pay the tax for what you earn. Then it becomes easy for you now, because if you earn 1 million euro, you pay tax for 1 million euro. If you earn zero, you pay zero tax. If you earn 1,000 euro, you pay a tax for 1,000 euro. But in Italy, it is not like that. Now, for people who want to set up businesses, what is the possibility you see there that maybe they might set up business in their own country, but they are living in Italy, they are running the business, but this is not a physical business, because now you can run business online. What is your take on that?
All right. So now even with the personal tax code, you can ask for deferment of payment where you pay at the end of the year or the following year as opposed to ahead of time. So to be fair, that's a matter of, if you, and this is how a lot of things work in business and in the legal system. If you get an answer that doesn't make sense to you, that doesn't work, you find another answer. You find another person who will give you another answer, because everybody's going to give a different answer. And this is the application, unfortunately, fortunately, of a lot of things, and especially in Italy. So if you are getting this, if this is what is being told to you and you don't agree with it, or it doesn't seem like that's fair, that makes sense, find another person to tell you to get more information, because it is likely that it's an interpretation that is not necessarily the definition or the entire truth. It's an interpretation. And so unfortunately, this is one of the gatekeeping techniques. So it's necessary in that case to find someone else, find somebody who you can trust in your community. And that's the way it works as well. So because there are, again, with law and with bureaucracy, there are lots of definitions to things. And sometimes they aren't respecting human rights. Okay, they're respecting protectionism, they're respecting invested interests. So if you get an answer that you don't like, find another answer, because it's not the only answer. So, and keep asking questions. Ask questions everywhere you can, because you will find another answer. So, and nothing is absolute. So one person tells you one thing, that's that person's interpretation. Sometimes people are very informed and they tell you, but if they're that informed, they will give you a solution as well, because there is always a solution. There is always, otherwise there are no problems. No problems, no solutions.
All right. Could you say more about the digital nomad? Because I think that can be more interesting now. In that, but in the digital nomad, I would like you to speak about. It is not for somebody who is coming in. I'm looking for a solution for somebody that is already in.
Yeah. Okay. No, it can be a solution. So because for example, again, Europe, there's European Union, any country that, now there are limitations for this, but in the European Union, anyone there's freedom of movement also within Europe. And, if you're sometimes, for example, coming in Italy is quite difficult, but sometimes it's easier to come in to, to France, for example, or do an application in Germany or in Austria or in Portugal, Greece, for example. So one of the other European countries where you can register your business and do business throughout Europe, you can begin sometimes even with residency. You can find a business partner who is in your communities. Okay, you can have several communities, but somebody who is residing in Greece, who's going to be your business partner, you're registered in Greece, and you have you've got what you need to be able to do business both in Greece and then also in Italy, because Italy is part of the European Union. So sometimes you have to look for their legal loopholes, completely legal, okay, following local law, but ways that make it easier. Okay, it's a matter of it's almost like, applying also ethics and logic to what you're doing, because, okay, we know there's freedom of movement. We know that there's freedom of doing business even. If you're working in the legality of things, everything's possible, because there's, what needs to be impeded. There's no reason that it shouldn't be possible, right? So you find a way. Okay. And it's thinking creatively. It's creative application of solutions. Again, I said no problems, no solutions, but also, without a solution, without a solution, there is no problem. Also, that's something else, right? It's like and in that case, it's just a matter of finding other areas that can be more open to what you want to do. So sometimes, if let's say, um, that flexibility of thinking about Europe has how many countries that are all working together, that are all, and they're integrating new countries always. Everyone has different entry barriers and ways of doing bureaucracy. Some are more advanced than others as well. For example, just just on the border of Italy, in what is this? Is it Slovenia? They're working on, some of the more Eastern European countries are very technologically advanced with their bureaucracy. They're very quick. Everything's online, instant. This helps when we're speaking about moving around, because you do have to have access. It's, again, playing the games. You need a local bank. You need local residency. You do have to find. Sometimes you find these loopholes, and it's legal entirely, but you find ways to address the problem. Okay, you need residency, find residency. Okay, you find a business partner, they have residency there. Okay, that's your business partner. Okay, and this is what I mean by working with your community, finding smart solutions, because it's the smart solutions, and understanding that one person is giving one answer, and that's could be their personal opinion or personal interpretation. And that, again, if the trust element is there, if you can establish trust with somebody you don't know, but that takes, those sorts of elements that are undescribable or unexplainable sometimes, of understanding another.
Thank you so much for that. That is really very interesting and informative. I appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
All right. Now, for businesses out there that you have encountered, maybe in Italy, no? Or maybe those, of course, let's say in Italy, because, okay, you are here in Italy. I understand that you, of course, are working with people. Now you are training people in business, correct?
Right. I do that as well. Yes.
All right. Yes, so what do you see as some of the biggest challenges that they face? This can be maybe a general term, and not necessarily be because they are in Italy, because in business, whether you are in China or in India or here in Italy, you are essentially rendering a service to people. But this simple idea that you need to do something for somebody, that is the only way you're going to get money, is not even very simple for people to understand sometimes.
Yes.
So what do you see to be the challenges of that entrepreneur phase, or maybe new entrepreneur phase, those who want to get into business? Because that is why a lot of people are not entrepreneur, because they don't understand it. So they just, let me just work for people for the rest of my life.
Right. Okay. And in this, there's that idea of finding something someplace else, okay, as opposed to building something from where you are and then offering it to other places. And this can be on a personal level. So working on your own, again, value add, what your experience is, educating yourself. So I also very highly believe in self-education, or, working on what it is that you can offer to the world. Okay. What, your personal talents, abilities, interests, areas of experience or education. So it's almost that process of self-discovery, you could say, but again, building on what your resources can be. Okay. Resources is everything around you. It's not just money. So identifying what are your resources, what could you offer? And that could be simply it could be something that's growing. It could be something that's, that could be produced. Natural resources are the most fundamental resources that we have. Giving more value to our natural resources, and our natural resources are the things in nature growing around us, but also our personal nature. And these are things that have an immense value and to not be underestimated or undervalued. And then, so seeing what it is that you have, that there is in your context to offer to the world. Okay. Products, services, knowledge. Okay. Those are basically the three things that you can offer to the world. I mean, there are plenty of others or declensions of those three things: product, services, and knowledge, know-how. Okay. So, and any know-how that you have, no matter how simplistic it seems, is a value to add. Okay. So there's also the thing about identifying even a problem that you in your community, wherever you're coming from, has, and address that, being able to find the resources elsewhere to be able to address that in the future. Okay. And I think this is a personal journey that's quite common, and that's very necessary. Otherwise, there would be no, there would be no evolving, there would be no improvement, there would be no, so it's very necessary to have perspective, etc. So, in that, the thing about understanding that the only way to go anywhere is to offer services, value, etc., and to identify what it is that you have to offer, and to, again, at the end of the day, everything else is putting negativity out into the world, and it's true that comes back, that comes back. And that's where we are right now in our world. The standard and rule of reality is that we're dealing with a lot of negative consequences of a lot of, you could say, implementation, which is not necessarily balanced. It's important to have a balance in the way we implement things. So, and again, that idea of adding to also, this comes naturally if you do have a society, a community. Okay. So the thing about, you want to add to your community, and again, if you look at the definition of value, or also in terms of what your potential product or service or knowledge can be, there's things that are immediately available, and there's things that you have to kind of look into and discover and research and learn. But that expression, there's a common expression, which is in American culture, which there's no free lunch. At the end of the day, there is the expectation of giving somehow, right? So no matter what, like the idea is, okay, somebody offers you lunch. Well, they want something from you. Okay.
Nothing goes for nothing, everything have a price to pay.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, there is that sort of, I think that's where that's coming from, is that, and now it's not true necessarily, not entirely, but I think that it's an area that still needs a lot of work and a lot of improvement and involvement, is that area of, this is another thing too, even in, finding associations that do charity work, or being able to work with the, even like United Nations and all of their declensions of their activity, getting into the social realm or the public realm, because in the world there's the public and the private, right? And public has to do with services and how do you say, anything that's available for not for profit, in best case scenario, not for profit. So things that need people, and volunteering your time, volunteering to go on a mission. There's a lot there's a big need for that. And that's a nice way to enter into anywhere you want to go. So looking into volunteer opportunities, for example, that's just a foot in the door, okay, and also a way to get to build more to build more knowledge about things. But in terms of, again, in global society, sometimes, and sometimes you do go far, far, far away and realize it was so much better where you went, where you came from, But freedom of movement is absolutely fundamental, and being able to go where you want is absolutely fundamental. Absolutely. But sometimes having that perspective of appreciation, and that is it. Without perspective, we have nothing. So
yeah. All right. Now, still within the realm of business, or maybe people who want to do business, or in this case now, looking at our peculiar case, because, you are coming from the United States, you are living in Italy, I'm coming from Nigeria, I'm living in Italy, so we are sort of looking at these people, this category of people who might have sort of peculiar challenges.
Right.
Now, what role would mindset play for this kind of people? Put it into context, the fact that they have left their home, the fact that they are away from their home, that you have to basically rebuild everything, from making the first friend, from sometimes in my own case, learning to speak the first word in Italian.
Right.
So putting all this in context, then you need to develop a kind of a mindset that is going to help you understand that this is not the end of it. You need to have a bigger dream. And in this case, we're looking at business. Help me understand that.
Yes. Now, and this again is what to build a community, to build yourself in establishing where you are. There is that aspect of, if you work together. That's why I support female entrepreneurs, right? Because that's one of my communities. That's, I'm a female, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to support female entrepreneurs, right? And I'm going to work on pulling everyone up with me. But this is just one area. I do a lot of work in a lot of different areas, and it's what you can assist, how you can assist, what you can add. If I have a business opportunity of some kind, who am I going to employ to help me? My other female entrepreneurs or mamapreneurs. For example, just simply that's I identify very closely with that. But I'm going to identify with anybody who I understand their value, and that I, of course, that's one thing, that being able to understand the value of people who are not necessarily coming from Italy, that's a big value. I absolutely see that value, undeniably, absolutely. So it's helpful to build that community and to build businesses where you are working with your community. It's very important. So, and again, these sorts of vehicles, as I was mentioning, in the business world today, get your idea, get your resources. That can be people, friends, part of your community, people you don't know, but that work in the area that you want to be working in. Define your idea, grow your idea, document your idea. Okay, literally make a business plan, put it all together. Identify all your resources, identify your long-term goals, identify what it is that you're adding. There are a million templates, as we spoke about, for a business plan that define exactly what you need to put together a business. And you can find a business plan for global startup, a global you could say activity, or local, or cross-border, or international, or multinational. Okay. So, where you're going to establish your business in different places, or you're doing it digitally, these are all areas to define, you can even research, give me a business idea, or these are my resources. What can I do? Research it. Any longer there's for every question, there are a million answers, billions of answers. Find the one that you like.
No, I think that message really resonates with the people, particularly with the people who believe that 9 to 5 is the end all and be all. So that message is for you, is for all of us to understand that, yeah, you can carve out something for yourself. There is a room for you. Because business is nothing more than rendering a service to people. What kind of solution do you want to bring to the table? If you can bring a solution to the table, then the marketplace will pay you. So, of course, maybe you are not getting something yet. The market is giving a vote. Probably you need to twist something and it's going to work. But of course, now we understand that mindset is going to play a pivotal role here in that you first of all need to believe that what you are doing is going to work. Otherwise, you're not going to have the energy to keep on pushing on that. So I think these are very important for us, particularly when you are that person who is away from your home and you want to still make sure that you pursue your dream, because it is important to pursue your dream. You never want to underestimate that. All right. Sara, thank you so much. So remind the people again, how can they reach out to you?
Yes. So I'm pretty present on social media for the most part on LinkedIn, Sara Sky Schutte. It's Schutte. I do have some artistic activities. I have projects in music, which is a passion of mine. So there you can find me at Sara Sky Stars, which is just my stage name. You could say my musical name. And then my activity right now that I'm building is Skyport Ventures, and you can look for me there. If you search for me on Google, you will find me. But in any case, and I, again, if there's any requests or specific information, I'd be happy to help out with that. And then again, maybe also sign up on YouTube for the podcast. And be sure that you connect on social media is helpful. You can also send me an email at sarasky@gmail.com, which is pretty simple. So.
All right. Super. That's pretty simple, like you said. So what would be your final thought today? We talked about business, of course, your business activity, what you do and how you help people. And of course, in the particular case, we look at the immigrant situation of people who are away from home, who are in Italy, and looking at the peculiarity of the Italian business ecosystem. And all those, are, of course, are important for people to understand. So perhaps there is something you wanted to say in line with all these that I didn't ask you, or maybe something you just wanted to reinforce. Please go ahead and conclude it in your own way.
Yes. Okay. So again, the thing about every action has a reaction, and it's important to work on doing the correct actions, because they will return with the best case scenario for yourself. Again, it's a game, you play the game, but you play it correctly. You can invent your own rules even, but you play correctly because you're playing with other people. And it's one of those things where the more you build your network of assistance and network of community and even business connections, this is something that will grow exponentially. So it's very important to start off in the right direction and continue in that direction, and things will come back correctly. Anything else is not going to get you where you want to be. So it depends on if you want to be where you want to be or not. That's mostly it.
That's so clear. That's so clear. The choice is yours. It's like you have been put at the driver's seat now, so decide what you want to do. So thank you so much for that, Sara. I appreciate your time and sharing.
Thank you as well. It's lovely to speak to you, and you're doing great work. And I keep going, and I will assist any way I can.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do.